In this video, I'm going to take you through step by step and show you everything that I did to turn this Caddy Maxi into the ultimate stealth camper van in under 2 weeks and for under £500.
We've got ourselves a 2014 Caddy Maxi. It's only a start line, there's nothing. It's got aircon and cruise control and bits. Annoyingly, it comes with all this racking in the back. So in the back here, we've got to get all this stuff out, which is going to be a bit of a pain. These are all like, I guess they're all like veterinary tables or something.
So, first things first, I needed to remove all of the old veterinary stuff from the back of the Caddy. Now, this proved to be a bit of a pain, to be totally honest. So if you can, get a van that doesn't have racking in the back, then that'll make your life much easier. Once all of the racking was finally out, I wanted to just have a good clear up, to be honest, and then I removed the ply floor. It's important to keep hold of that. You can use it as a template for the new floor that's going in. My little sister turned up for a bit of a chat while I removed the bulkhead, which leads me on to my next point. When you take the bulkhead off, you get these horrible gaps here. Now, I think you can buy, for about 300 or 400 quid, you can buy a part from Volkswagen, or you can keep watching this video and I'll tell you how to fill those gaps free of charge. Thankfully, the bulkhead's really easy to remove on these, pretty self-explanatory, as is the ceiling. I kept hold of the ceiling because I'll be using that later on. So the really handy thing about these is they come with the Noiko, the noise cancelling, already on the ceiling. So when I put mine in now, I just put it on these side panels, the doors, and the flooring. Now, there was a few rust spots and bolts sticking out the floor, but nothing that the angle grinder won't sort out. I got the worst of the muck off the floor using these drill cleaner bits. I'll put a link down below to all the stuff as well, but these bits are fantastic. There are a few holes in the floor still and little rust spots, so I grinded them back to bare metal, filled them up, and then painted them with a rust-proof Hammerite paint. If you want to get a good fix in with the new ply floor without having to screw through the actual van floor, then stick down some offcuts of 9mm ply and you can use these to screw into later on. After mucking around for ages with a flathead screwdriver, I realised that long nose pliers are the easiest way to get those little plastic rivet things removed and all the panels off. Using the old floor as a template, I got my assistant to draw around it. I then cut it out, sanded the edges and rested it in the van for a dry fit. Thankfully, got it perfect the first time. My next step was to foil line any external surface of the van just to keep it a little bit warmer. You've probably seen this hundreds of times on van builds, so I won't bore you with it too long. The only thing I did forget was to put the noise cancellation on, so that will be coming later on. I then stuffed the installation pretty much everywhere I could, to be honest, including in the ceiling. After that, it was now time to fit the new ply floor and get it screwed down to those little pickups I installed earlier.
The next step's easy. We've got 4 LEDs going in, little 3-watt jobbies. I've decided to reuse the existing ceiling because it just makes life a lot easier. So I'm going to mark up where these spots go. I'm going to set them evenly, but you've got to be very careful that you don't put them where the beams run across to the ceiling, otherwise they won't sit up. So take that into consideration. I'm going to fit 4. I'm also keeping, I don't know if you can see from there, the existing light, because when you open your camper door, none of your lights are on and it's pitch black. So having that still in the ceiling means that when you open your door, there'll be a light on in there. You can see what you're doing, so you can see the light switch to turn your actual lights on. So it's always a good idea to keep that in your camper.
With the lights now cut in and test fitted, it was time to get some carpet on that ceiling, cut out the holes for the lights, pop them back in and set it to one side for a second. This won't be the prettiest thing you've ever seen, but that's me trying to fit carpet. It's the worst job about a van build, but all in all, I think it looks alright. Probably wasted way too much, but there we are. Then fitted the ceiling, and here's what it looks like with the floor and ceiling in place. I knocked up some cardboard templates for the panels on the back door, drew around them and cut them out of 6mm ply, got them carpeted and fitted them to the van. I repeated the procedure for pretty much the whole van, to be honest. Once I've fitted these bottom panels, it's important to leave a little gap in this one so that you can fit a lanyard, because you can't get out of these vans from the back without a lanyard or some sort of latch in there. Before I could fit the main side panels in the van, I ran some cables and got them hidden out of sight. Cardboard templates, again, a little bit more complex these, but pretty easy to do. And then draw around it on some 6mm ply, cut it out and get it carpeted. I'd love to say I got them both right first time, but truth is they took a couple of test fits and a little bit of adjusting until I was happy with them both. I then cut in the switch panel and the dimmer switch for the lights. Before I could fit the ply lining to the doors, I had to put some noggins in place to fix them to. That allowed for a big enough gap to put some insulation in there as well. I then repeated the process to insulate and panel the bottom half of the doors. So I know I said earlier that the carpet was the worst part of the build. I think I might have lied. I think the lino floor was actually worse, but this is a budget build. Here's how it looks. I wasn't happy with how those bits looked, so I decided to cut some ply carpet and stick that up there as well. And I think it looks much better, to be honest. Moving on to my favourite part of the build, which was building the bed. Now, I didn't really go off any plans for this. I just knew that I wanted a rock and roll style bed and I didn't really want to spend any money. So I managed to build the whole thing for about 60 quid. I'd never fitted piano or continuous hinges before, but they were pretty easy. That bit there is going to be storage, and then it sort of folds up into like a rock and roll, traditional rock and roll style bed. I knocked up a frame using cheap and lightweight CLS. I did have a few problems with this, which I'll explain in a minute, but overall it was pretty easy to build. I just didn't know what direction I was heading with it until it was in the van, really. So the next course of action was to put some legs on it, get it in the van and see how it looked. I put the frame in for a little dry fit. It went in all right. There's a couple of issues though. The first issue was the legs were slightly too long, meaning the sofa was going to be a bit high. And the second issue was those bits sticking out of the front. I wanted them to stay in a fixed position, but I had to come up with another plan because they were going to get in the way of the kitchen area and would definitely obstruct getting in and out of the van. You can see here, it's just a little bit too tall, so that's why I cut the legs down a little bit. I decided to paint the frame black. I thought it'd look a lot more stealthy in there. And I came up with a genius idea to cut the front off and put the front part of the bed on a set of wheels, which will all make sense by the end of this video. The main part of the bed was made with 18mm ply, so I had to cut some slits in it just to reduce weight. It's also something to grab hold of when you're putting the bed in sofa mode. I then routed the edges smooth. Here is the bed from the back. What I've done is basically modified a system that people sometimes use, but the bed's only cost us like 60 quid. This will be storage. It's not finished yet, the paint needs a bit of a touching up, but this will be storage. So there'll be a box that lifts out of here, and then around the front, excuse the paintwork, it's not finished yet. Again, at the front, you've got these latches here that hold the bed in that position, and then if I undo them, wheel the bed out, and you've got a double bed in the back there. If you remember these gaps from earlier, I said I'd show you how to get over that. So what you have to do is multi-tool off the existing bit of plastic from the bulkhead, and you should end up with something that looks like this. Now the edges on this are really not very good at the moment, so you can sort of pick all that melted stuff off and then just get a file and file it all down nice. Here's how mine looked once they were carpeted. Because this van is a 2014, it has a smart alternator, which means a VSR cannot be fitted. So it's time for me to run a positive and negative cable through to the main van and to where the DC to DC charger will be sitting. I like to glue down a bit of ply just to make everything look a little bit neater once it's all in place. The handy thing about these caddies is there's a gap under the false floor where the battery can sit out of sight. Just make sure you get a low line battery or measure the height first. I decided to fit an LED strip around the top. It didn't stick very well, so I had to use some OB1 for that. I put a solar ceiling vent on, which are very stealthy, can't really be seen. And as if it was meant to be, I found a mattress that fit exactly on the bed I'd made. I think it was about 80 quid online. I then wanted to sort one of the main issues with the van, which is blue LEDs at night. Now these switch panels are annoying because when you turn the light off, you can still see that voltage. So there is a way, if you wire it all into switch position number 1, that you can switch that voltage sign off at night. So I got to work doing that as my next project. I fitted some storage nets to the back doors. These things are brilliant, so I'll put a link below to these. How good is this looking now, Let? Got the runway lights in. Bellissima. Now, at first, I wanted to keep the outside as it was to make it look stealthy, but I couldn't look at those rusty wheels any longer. So it was time to spray them black and fit some hubcaps, just to sort of tidy it up a little bit. I knocked up a little box to put in the back of the bed as storage, which I later sprayed black, and then got to work on building the kitchen. Now, because I was on a budget, the kitchen had to be as cheap as possible. I bought this cheap unit online. It was like 30-40 quid. It's absolutely fantastic. It did the job perfectly. I bought a salad bowl to use as a sink, which again is a huge money-saving tip. And I got a complete waste, water and tap kit online for like 70 quid as well. So the whole kitchen unit was next to nothing. In my opinion, no camper is complete without wind deflectors, so I bought a set of them online. They only take 5 minutes to fit, and they just change the look and noise of the van. I fitted the bits from earlier that cover up those gaps, so now they look pretty good from both sides. And they didn't cost a penny, because I refused to pay £400 for something that I can do for free. To add a little bit of extra worktop, I fitted a little chopping board and some drop-down hinges on the side of the unit, just so you got that little extra bit of space if you did want to use it to cut things, or if you want to rest your cooker or gas bottle on there. I fitted these curtains. I had to adapt them. They're from a T5, but they fitted well and they look good in my opinion. I filled up the water, so the tap was good to test, and fitted some latches and some magnets to the kitchen unit so the door doesn't fly open when you're driving. Now, links to everything I use are below, and if you've got any questions or want any tutorials on how I did any specific thing within the build, please drop a comment below and I'll try my best to sort that out for you or answer your questions.